I think she hates these people. I think she
I-
hates these people, and she hates part of herself that goes along with it. And she wants to be able to say, look, I did this, but, you know, I didn't really believe in it, and I thought they made mistakes, but, you know, I'm just late middle-aged, you know, mom, and they didn't listen to me.
I think if I was making bets here, you know, Stuart, when you said that earlier today, it really struck me. This is like her plea bargain with history. And I think it's also the 1.0 tease for her to go out and get a book deal, you know, in the seven figures, because
although
she will be credible and all that.
Although she's blown all the secrets already. I mean, what
I was going to say in a book deal, didn't she kind of leave it in the locker room? I mean,
I don't know, guys. I got to tell you, I think she's probably even worse than that. I think she's probably. I think that she's got worse stories than we're seeing here.
Yeah,
of course she does.
And I think she's got more. I think she's got more fish to fry here. I mean, and I picked up from people way back in the beginning of the administration how she was absolutely going to get Elon Musk, and she did, and how she was absolutely going to go and try to minimize and burn down Hegseth. And she hasn't won on that one yet, but she clearly has boxed him in as a bit of a clown. I think she's got more fish to fry here. If she stays, the knives are out now. You guys, I don't know if you saw that story this afternoon. Anonymous White House sources saying, "Oh, now she's in every group. We're in every group chat talking about what to do about this." They're very upset about it, and I'm like, the one thing that really strikes me though, guys, and this is a little piece of lesser known history. Susie, for everybody watching tonight, was vital in getting Ron DeSantis elected as governor of Florida in 2018. She gives an interview right after the election that the DeSanti, Ron and Casey McBeth DeSantis, both decided was taking too much credit, taking too much power for herself, and they humiliated her and fired her. This has a weird vibe of that, guys. Don't you think there's some like almost like murder suicide going on in this thing?
Well, Rick, let me just ask Rick, what's her relationship? Do you know what her relationship with Pam Bondi was like in Florida?
I don't really think they ever had a real relationship. You know, Pam was always like the incredible lightness of being. She is just not a serious person. And Susie Wiles is a serious person. And I think Pam was, they were only overlapped by a minute. So I think Ashley Moody was who she would have interacted with more as AG, but Susie wasn't around that long.
Yeah. And I'll just say about, you know, Pam Bondi. The last time I saw Pam Bondi was on a campaign bus. When she got on, she was supposed to give a speech, and she was so drunk and was dressed in what one female staffer referred to as stripper formal. And had with her an inappropriately younger man. And let's just say, you know, she didn't get on the stage.
I could see that one.
But how do you, you know, like if you told anybody that somebody on Donald Trump's staff, anybody, at least office chief of staff, said that he had an alcoholic's personality, what do you think?
How do you survive that?
How do you survive
did you hear Trump's reaction to that?
No.
I gotta say, I thought they reacted. He goes, well, you know, I don't drink alcohol, but I've said a lot. If I did, I probably would be an alcoholic because I have that kind of obsessive personality. He actually handled it. So he must say this a lot. So maybe it's not as, you know.
Still, I just have a lot of trouble.
It's not like, it's not a thing you want to, I mean, it would be like working for JFK and saying, well, you know, he's a sex addict.
Right.
You know, just
it may be true. It may be true, but it's rather awkward for the overall image of the org.
But but then she goes and explains what that means.
Right.
I like we'd all know, we would all bet that that person would be gone. And so it's going to be really interesting, I mean, particularly when all the knives are out now. And
Yeah, and
they're
they are clearly going to come out.
Who do you think is most after her, Rick?
Right now? Probably Stephen Miller. He's not a big feature in the story, but she goes directly at DHS and ICE. Like, we made mistakes arresting people. You know, I wouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have, you know, somebody screwed that up. You know, any criticism of arresting immigrants for Stephen Miller is basically like saying, I'm going to kill your dog to him. He really gets unhappy. And so, and I also know that Stephen Miller has wanted to be, you know, even more powerful inside this White House. He only controls the DOJ and DHS and ICE right now. He would like to run the whole show, I'm sure. So if I were Susie, I wouldn't be in a room with Stephen, and I would get a food taster.
You know, the before and after picture of Stephen Miller right now and on his deathbed are going to not be very different. This guy,
No, oh God,
no.
I mean, if you said this guy was, you know, 75 years old and dying of colon cancer, sitting for a portrait, you go, yeah, I believe that. You know?
He feels, I mean, in all these pictures, it's a little stagey, but it's also like, he's a guy who has like nothing in his heart except hatred for people. That is a guy who doesn't like anything or anybody. But yeah, I also think there was some interesting sort of squirrely, like JD Vance and Rubio, you know, Marco saying the exact politically correct thing of, if JD runs for president, I will be the first to endorse him. That, and I know Marco Rubio, guys. That means Marco Rubio is like, I will be the first to come to your house late at night with armed men. Good
yeah, that
time.
Stephen Miller photo, though, it brings back the quote that Trump had about him, that if Stephen Miller had his way, there'd only be 100 million Americans and they'd all look like him.
Right.
And, you know, so you should take a really good look, America, at that picture.
Guys, I keep coming back to this. It was on the record. It's unspinnable, right? I mean, let's put our strategist hats on. You know, if somebody says something off the record,
too, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if somebody says something off the record in an interview, you can dispute it later. You can say, "Oh, I didn't say it that way," or "He's taking it out of context," or whatever. They were on tape. He taped the entire 11 hours of interviews. And how do you, even among the most credulous MAGAs, how do you? What are they going to say? Oh, it was all made up. It's all deep state lies. No, they have to realize it. They have to acknowledge it. And
no, but you know, like I know we all understand Chris's ability, you know, to make you comfortable and pull you in. But okay, guys, you've been in that position, and you know what he's doing, or whoever the reporter is doing, and you've been through the rodeo enough times to not fall for it. Here's somebody who, there's no way she didn't understand what was going on. I mean, this had to. He's skilled, but at some level, she was doing. She had she was going after these people on purpose for a reason.
Yeah.
No,
I will say this. I think you're exactly right, Joe, about Susie. She absolutely is a pro. She's been around.
Right.
She's been to the rodeo before. She knows the game. But I think there's also something about the rest of these people who they have spent the entire Trump era for a decade surrounded by Fox and MAGA influencers and OAN and Newsmax reporters who first go in the room and go, "What would you like me to say for you? What can I do for you, sir or ma'am?" I mean, I think a lot of them have been raised, they've gotten soft by being coddled by these MAGA influencer types and by these MAGA press types for a decade. I think they've gotten very comfy, very slack, very lazy. So
it's like a candidate who hasn't had a real debate, and it's
Right.
just it goes through
But
the
I
big
do
group of
think-
staffers who won't really challenge him. And
But like I said, I
Never
do
tr-
think the motive was more along the lines of, like you said, a confessional after the fact, to get to preempt sort of a career move, just sort of like laying down the historic,
what
it's got to be that kind of motive because she's too smart and been
Yeah,
around the media too many
she
times.
really
What-
is.
what's the story? She has kids, right, Rick?
Yeah, and her daughter is dating a guy who runs like the largest THC marijuana distributor thing in the country, which it's only a coincidence that Trump is talking about legalizing marijuana.
Right.
I'm sure. Total coincidence.
I mean,
Couldn't be anything else
this
but
had
that.
the feel. This had the feel to me of something that you've argued with your kids that I'm not really like this, and now you're trying to prove it. Like
Right.
this is. You can be proud of me.
The other thing I think that the other thing they think that she's got here, and let's remember who she works for. She works for a guy named Brian Ballard, usually, who's one of the biggest lobbyists in the world. Stu and I both know Brian. I think Joe knows him too. He's a very, very powerful lobbyist. I have a weird suspicion Susie did some math in her head and said, the minute Trump's gone, Brian isn't the biggest lobbyist in the world anymore. But if I make one book deal where I walk out of the door with a $2 or $3 million advance or a $4 or $5 million advance, and it's a big bestseller, maybe I retire in comfort and I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot more to her motivations than anybody's parsed out yet.